In Los Angeles, a team of police officers is caught in an intense gunfight with 4 robbers who've seized control of a bank in Lincoln Heights. While 2 of the robbers are indoors, watching over the hostages, the remaining 2 are engaged in a fierce confrontation with the police. They're equipped with heavy-duty automatic rifles and full body armor, providing them with the upper hand as the police are armed with only small pistols. Thankfully, a specialized SWAT unit arrives right on schedule to provide assistance. Officers Jim and Brian descend from a helicopter with 2 other team members and land on the bank's roof. They find a way into the bank by going through the storeroom and using a special camera to spy on the situation. Some skilled SWAT snipers position themselves on a nearby building's roof, while another team approaches from the ground. Right at that moment, one of the robbers outside attempts to escape in a getaway car, but a sharpshooting sniper takes him down with a single shot. The other robber continues to resist arrest, but the ground unit quickly reaches him and apprehends him. Inside the bank, the 2 remaining robbers start to get anxious. The ground team sends in a secure phone to connect with a SWAT negotiator, who tries to talk to the robbers and find a way to free the hostages. While the negotiator is dealing with the robbers, Lieutenant Velasquez communicates with his team inside the bank and asks them to wait. However, Brian doesn't follow the order. He enters the storeroom and, even though Jim has no other choice, he follows Brian. Brian secretly positions himself in the back of the main lobby to get a good angle for taking down the robbers. Despite Velasquez repeatedly trying to reach Brian through calls, Brian ignores them all. As tension rises, one of the robbers becomes more nervous and grabs a woman, threatening to harm her. Watching the situation unfold, Brian takes action by shooting the robber, unfortunately hitting the woman's shoulder and fatally wounding the robber. This act also injures the woman. Jim handles the remaining robber, finally ending the ordeal. Afterward, Jim checks on the injured woman, calls for an ambulance, and addresses Brian's concern about her well-being. Jim, however, is upset about Brian's actions. Later at the police station, Captain Fuller is furious with Jim and Brian for disregarding orders. He's especially upset because the wounded woman might sue them for negligence. Fuller removes them from the SWAT team. Lieutenant Velasquez intervenes and requests that they remain part of the team in some capacity, giving them a chance to earn back their positions. Fuller agrees, but their new assignment involves cage duty, which involves handling weapons and gear for other officers. A less prestigious role. Brian is offended by this and confronts Fuller, aggravating the situation further. In anger, Brian storms off. Jim hesitates but is offered an opportunity by Fuller to return to the team immediately if he reports Brian's recklessness. Meanwhile, Brian decides to quit and starts packing his things. Unexpectedly, Jim reveals his agreement with Fuller's assessment of Brian's recklessness, leading to an argument. Brian assumes Jim betrayed him and reacts by hitting his head against a mirror before leaving. 6 months later, Jim continues to train during his free time. However, at work, he's assigned to the gun cage, performing basic tasks for fellow police officers. One day, Sergeant Hondo visits the precinct and asks Jim for assistance in fixing his customized M4 rifle. Jim is impressed by the personalized modifications on the rifle. Then, Hondo meets with Velasquez to discuss the problem of critical articles targeting the LAPD. These articles have prompted the chief to demand reforms within the department. Velasquez asks Hondo to create a new SWAT unit under his command and proposes 2 officers, TJ and Michael. Hondo agrees and plans to select 3 more candidates from personnel files, pending final approval from Fuller. After completing work on Hondo's weapon, Jim returns home to find his girlfriend in the process of moving out. She explains that their relationship isn't going well, and she believes Jim hasn't been the same since leaving the SWAT team. She tries to share a final kiss, but Jim declines, allowing her to leave. The following day at work, it's revealed that while working in the gun cage, Jim has invented a new piece of equipment he intends to patent in the future. It's a large hook and chain designed to bring down walls or barricades during hostile situations. He calls it the key to the city. While explaining his invention to his colleague in the gun cage, Hondo enters and expresses admiration for Jim's idea. Hondo retrieves his weapon and notices the improvements Jim has made to it, Later, Hondo takes some of the officers to the firing range for target practice. TJ manages to outperform Hondo, who then bets $200 that Jim can outshoot TJ. Accepting the challenge, TJ competes against Jim. Surprisingly, Jim emerges as the winner, astonishing everyone except Hondo. Meanwhile, a French mobster named Alex arrives in Los Angeles. At the guards' checkpoint, they almost confiscate his knife, but he convinces them it's a family heirloom. After being welcomed by his men and receiving a fake passport, Alex goes to visit his uncle at a local restaurant under the guise of a birthday surprise. However, Alex is aware that his uncle has been stealing money from the family. After sharing a meal, Alex swiftly kills his uncle using the knife. Leaving the restaurant, Alex drives his car solo. However, he's quickly pulled over by the police due to a broken taillight. The car is registered under Alex's uncle, and there's an active warrant for his uncle. Consequently, Alex is taken into custody for identification and questioning purposes. He attempts to offer money to the police in hopes of resolving the situation, but his efforts prove unsuccessful. This leads to Alex being confined to a jail cell. Meanwhile, Hondo enlists Jim as his driver for the day to scout for potential recruits. They start by investigating Officer Deke, who's in the midst of pursuing a suspect on foot. Seeing the chase unfold, Hondo and Jim decide to join in, running alongside Deke until they successfully apprehend the suspect. Although Deke initially expresses annoyance about their involvement, he becomes more receptive when Hondo invites him to join the new SWAT team. Next, they evaluate another candidate who makes an unfavorable impression on Hondo. This candidate's vegetarianism, excessive politeness, and rigid adherence to rules suggest that they might not be a good fit for Hondo's unit. They proceeded to visit Metro Police Officer Chris, who had applied for SWAT multiple times but faced rejections due to misconduct complaints from suspects. They discover that Chris is at the local ER, where her partner is guarding an injured individual bearing marks from an encounter with Chris. Hondo searches for Chris and learns that Chris is actually a woman named Christina, using Chris as a shortened form of her name. This revelation leads Hondo to realize that Fuller likely excluded Chris from the SWAT roster due to her gender. The allegations of misconduct were likely a pretext, especially considering Chris's explanation that the charges stemmed from resisting male suspects who were uncomfortable being subdued by a woman. Impressed by her resolve, Hondo promptly offers Chris a spot on the team. Upon returning to headquarters, Jim inquires of Hondo whether he's merely extending the recruitment process or if there's a specific reason behind it. Hondo asks Jim if he's interested in being part of the team. When Jim hesitates due to his awareness of Fuller's probable disapproval, Hondo inquires whether Jim provided information about Brian's recklessness. When Jim denies giving away the information, Hondo grants him the remaining spot on the team. Later, during a meeting to discuss the team's composition, Fuller sticks to expectations by rejecting both Chris and Jim. Hondo, however, stands firm and refuses to back down. Fuller proposes a middle ground. He'll accept the team as is, but they must pass the preliminary trials for SWAT. If they fail, Chris will go back to her previous role, and both Jim and Hondo will be removed from service. Hondo agrees, confident in his team's potential. Training commences, allowing squad members to become acquainted. It's revealed that Jim's ex-girlfriend is Michael's sister, creating tension between them due to Michael's assumption that Jim treated her poorly. A potential fight is diffused by others before it escalates. Hondo guides the team through various exercises like infiltration, armor usage, weapon handling, physical conditioning, and long-range shooting. Although they face initial challenges, they gradually exhibit strong performance. During a sniper practice involving card targets, the team's remarkable marksmanship skills come to light. They also participate in simulations where they infiltrate empty buildings to learn teamwork and hostage rescue techniques. A few days later, the team faces their final evaluation, an exercise simulating a hostage situation. The task involves infiltrating an aircraft commandeered by terrorists, portrayed by fellow officers wielding paintball guns. Their objective is to regain control of the plane by neutralizing all hijackers within an 8-minute time frame. While reviewing the airplane's blueprints, Jim discovers an unexpected access point that no one would anticipate: a small elevator shaft designed for food trays, which only Chris could fit through. The team positions their vehicle beneath the plane and begins creating an opening, with one member climbing atop the roof to access a window later. As Chris enters the elevator shaft, the others locate a hatch and detect a trap just in time to disarm it before it activates. In a matter of seconds, they defuse it, then count to 3 to coordinate their attack. With the team strategically positioned throughout the plane, they eliminated all 6 hijackers swiftly with precise shots, safeguarding the hostages. Although TJ sustains a hit that would have been lethal in real circumstances, Fuller is left irked as the new team sets a new record for their performance. Later that evening, the team celebrates by dining at a cafe owned by Deke's father. After hours of food and drinks, most members head home, while Chris and Jim continue to a favorite bar. Their conversation is interrupted by Brian, leading to passive-aggressive exchanges with Jim until Brian departs, inadvertently damaging a picture of him and Jim in the process. Meanwhile, Jim makes a pass at Chris, who declines but extends an invitation to her daughter's upcoming birthday party. In parallel, Alex attempts to hire a lawyer, but their efforts prove futile. Consequently, Alex is moved to a different location. The following day, the team enjoyed their well-deserved break. TJ goes out on a date, while Hondo and Velasquez enjoy a round of golf. Deke spends quality time with his kids, and Michael opts for a relaxing day at home with his wife. Jim is off to Chris's daughter's birthday party, where he brings laughter to all the kids using a water rifle. However, their enjoyment is suddenly cut short when an emergency call comes in. The situation is a Polish hostage crisis. Someone barricaded in a house, firing a shotgun erratically out of a window. The person claims to have rigged entrances with explosives, though few believe it. Despite skepticism, Velasquez refuses to take any risks. Jim steps forward with his innovative key to the city device. Using it, they swiftly dismantle the house's back wall, neutralizing the suspect and resolving the standoff within moments. Later at the sheriff's department, a deputy uncovers crucial information about Alex's real identity. Velasquez receives the details and enlists Hondo's unit to intercept and escort the prison bus transporting Alex. Simultaneously, Alex's gang learns of the transfer and stages an elaborate ruse. 2 members disguise themselves as law enforcement officers and commandeer a stolen police car to halt the bus. They board the bus, shooting the deputies before freeing Alex. As they make their getaway, Hondo's team arrives on the scene and blocks their path. In response, the criminals open fire, igniting a fierce shootout. Amidst the chaos as civilians scatter in panic, the team rapidly takes down the imposter cops. When Alex tries escaping in the stolen police vehicle, they relentlessly pursue and shoot it down, recapturing Alex. Subsequently, it emerges that Alex is an international fugitive, wanted in multiple countries for serious charges, including murder, arms trafficking, and illegal trade. Reporters are closely monitoring the situation, and as Alex is escorted to a holding cell, he capitalizes on the opportunity. He turns toward the cameras and offers a staggering $100 million reward for anyone capable of orchestrating his jailbreak. This bold proclamation is broadcast across news channels repeatedly, confirming Alex's financial capacity to back his pledge. This entices the attention of the criminal underworld in Los Angeles, much to the frustration of Hondo's team, who anticipate a tougher challenge ahead. Hondo's unit attempts a helicopter evacuation of Alex from the rooftop. However, just as the chopper approaches, an unseen sniper takes a shot, causing the helicopter to lose control and crash on the street below, followed by a fiery explosion. The team swiftly retreats with Alex and devises a new strategy. A motorcade will be used to move the criminal. Cars and motorcycles become their mode of transportation as they navigate through the city, disregarding the enthusiastic yet misguided fans attempting to catch Alex's attention. While progressing, they encounter a seemingly slow-moving homeless man crossing the street. But this is a trap, as a gang of criminals swiftly descends upon the scene. Trucks collide with police vehicles, while other assailants launch gunfire and smoke grenades. Amidst the chaos, a motorcycle officer loses his life, and 2 more officers sustain injuries. However, when the gang tries to apprehend Alex, they discover a doll instead. It's revealed that the vehicles were a ruse, and Alex is being discreetly led underground through an unmarked route to cars parked far from headquarters. Velasquez watches over from above. Hondo's plan proceeds smoothly for several miles, though Alex persists in hurling insults and offering bribes. Upon crossing the second checkpoint, an abrupt interruption occurs. TJ unexpectedly halts the car and directs his weapon at his own team, choosing to accept Alex's offer. While Jim and Michael attempt to reason with him, the situation escalates further. Brian suddenly appears, aligning himself with TJ. He lethally shoots Michael, unveiling his role as the mastermind behind the operation to liberate Alex. Following this shocking turn of events, TJ restrains Jim, attaching him to the car. TJ and Brian seize Alex and escape into the subway. The remaining team members arrive promptly, rescuing Jim and summoning paramedics to attend to Michael. Once more, a decision is made to divide the team's efforts. Hondo and Jim give chase to the escaping group, while Deke and Sanchez rush to the subsequent station. Regrettably, Hondo and Jim miss catching the train. However, Deke and Chris provide an update. The train never reaches the anticipated station. This revelation prompts both teams to venture towards the tunnel's end, investigating the situation further. The team discovers the train deserted midway through the tunnel, but Brian and his crew are nowhere to be found. Only terrified passengers remain. The train's conductor points out a storm drain entrance, prompting the team to enter. Unfortunately, this causes them to lose contact with the police frequently. Meanwhile, Fuller learns of TJ's betrayal and Brian's involvement, triggering suspicions that the entire team might be involved in Alex's liberation plan. This belief is further fueled by their lack of response. Upon discovering an unauthorized lit runway at Hawthorne Airport, Fuller deduces Brian's destination and dispatches all available units there. In the midst of tracking down the criminals through sewer tunnels and contending with bats, Brian devises a booby trap using a claymore mine and smoke grenades. TJ expresses discomfort with the idea, but Hondo's team pushes forward, disregarding the smoke. Near a close call, Jim prevents Deke from triggering the trap. Jim disarms the claymore as Brian's group reaches the tunnel's end, sealing the exit behind them before departing. Eventually, Hondo's team encounters a heavy locked gate. Thankfully, Jim uses the disarmed claymore to forcefully open it, restoring their communication ability. Hondo informs Fuller of the situation and asks for vehicle assistance. However, due to distrust, Fuller orders the team to abandon the mission. Hondo defies the command, and the team commandeers a passing limousine for their escape. As they speed away, Chris notices a low-flying jet above the city. They realize this indicates Brian's evacuation plan for Alex, with the airport serving as a mere decoy. The team swiftly tails the jet, observing its landing on the 6th Street Bridge. Brian and his crew swiftly seize the jet's panicked owners, employing them as hostages before boarding the aircraft to flee. Using the limousine, the team reaches the bridge. As 2 criminals fire to trigger a roadblock explosion, Hondo drives through the hazard without hesitation. Law enforcement opened fire in an attempt to halt the plane, but with no success. In a bold move, Hondo strikes the plane's landing gear just as it begins its takeoff, resulting in a crash. Another intense firefight unfolds between SWAT and Brian's men. In the midst of this chaos, Chris sustains a shoulder injury. As Alex makes a break for it, Deke pursues him on foot, promptly recapturing him. Brian, employing a hostage as a shield, exits the plane unharmed. Rappelling down from the bridge, he is pursued by Jim. Simultaneously, Hondo confronts the wounded TJ, who expresses remorse and inquires about Michael's condition. Upon learning that Michael is expected to recover, TJ takes a drastic step, ending his own life. Jim descends from the bridge and lands in a train yard, where Brian catches him off guard, injuring his hand with a swift stab before fleeing. A determined Jim gives chase, navigating the area while avoiding moving trains. The pursuit escalates into a fierce hand-to-hand confrontation atop the rails. Amidst the intense struggle, a sudden train approaches, leading Jim to deliver a decisive kick to Brian's head, resulting in his instantaneous demise. Reuniting with the team on the bridge, Jim is joined by Fuller, who commends their remarkable performance. However, Fuller emphasizes that the task is not yet complete. With Alex still in custody, he needs to be transferred to a federal prison. The team takes charge of the responsibility, employing a SWAT truck for the handover to the authorities. Following the successful transfer, a report of an ongoing robbery surfaces on the police radio. Despite their fatigue, Hondo and the weary team agree to embark on their next mission, even though their shift technically ended 12 hours prior.